Friends, we're getting some very disturbing updates out there that we need to get across right away. We got major airspace closures across Iran. They've just canceled a whole bunch of flights all throughout tonight into tomorrow morning. They have canceled all flights out of Iranian airports through tonight. A major attack is imminent. Also, we're seeing over the escalation in Iran, between Israel and Lebanon is just going off the charts, friends. Israel is going full all out on the anniversary here of October 7th. It is sending a very strong, clear message out there, and this is probably going to pull in this is going to pull back results. This is going to pull back a lot of pushback from countries across the Middle East. Also, we have a gang of countries being threatened by Israel. We got Saudi Arabia being basically threatened with attack by Iran if they let Israel attack Iran. And these countries are pushing back hard against Iran too. Lord, friends, we are seeing that we are in the next stage of World War III. We got a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and I'm just blown away by what's been happening in the last just few hours, up to about 24 hours. I know Canadian Prepper put out a thing yesterday saying that an attack by Israel on Iran proper would be coming in the next couple hours. That was about 24 hours ago, but a lot of the stuff, the stage setting stuff that he mentioned in there is still in place. We'll go over some of that, but we got a lot of big updates that have happened just recently, just in the last few hours that we need to roll out. It is Sunday afternoon, and we need to get these things to you right away. So the airspace has been closed in western parts of Iran through the 9th of October. That was something that had already happened. That is still in place. However, all airports across Iran have now canceled all flights until tomorrow. So Monday morning, they will resume flights at the earliest. No flights at all, civilian flights, until then. What are they expecting? Are they trying to keep their airspace clear so that they can launch a counter-assault, a counterattack against Israel? Some are speculating that if Israel hits Iran, Iran is going to respond immediately. They've just put out some PR stuff where they said they have 2,000 ballistic missiles ready to launch against Israel immediately. So last time around, we had 180 ballistic missiles fired by Iran against Israel. Iran is saying they have 2,000 ready to go, including Russian Iskander ballistic missiles. Now, we also have this earthquake out in the desert of Iran. Some are speculating, was that a nuclear test, an underground nuclear test? It seems like most experts, there aren't too many talking about it, but the people quoting experts and trying to link up science and stuff, P waves, S waves, earthquake versus nuclear test, seem to indicate that it was not a nuclear test. If it was, that would definitely change the metrics a bit out there. The Iskander ballistic missile from Russia is capable of carrying a nuclear weapon. However, you can't just build a nuclear weapon and jam it on the thing. You have to miniaturize the technology. You have to make it fit to that missile. So that probably has not happened. Even if Iran has built a nuclear weapon, they probably can't stick it on an Iskander missile, but they could potentially stick it on something else that they have. Israel is they're attacking all fronts. We see that they have troops in Lebanon. The paratroopers that crossed over into Lebanon were showing off all the weapons and all of the things that they captured when they crossed the border into Lebanon and destroyed those tunnel entrances. Those tunnels were intended, are dug to go into Israel. So those tunnels were going to be used potentially tomorrow, Monday, October 7th, for a massive attack by Hezbollah into northern Israel. Now, you can just imagine if the United States discovered a September 11th attack on the following year, how off the handle we would flip, right? I mean, if we found an organized attack by an organization, we would just lose it on them for sure. But not only has Israel sent in troops into Lebanon, but they've just resent the 162nd Division back into northern Gaza. Just minutes ago, we've gotten confirmations that mass leaflet dropping has happened over northern Gaza, instructing civilians to flee south. They have whole zones mapped out that civilians need to evacuate out of. At the same time, we have the 162nd Division going back into Gaza to attack Hamas, one of the organizations there, right? So we have that happening. Then major things happening with Azerbaijan hitting back at Iran. Iran said to these countries, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, UAE, and Saudi Arabia, that if they allow an Israeli strike to happen against Iran, if they allow their airspace to be used, if they allow any sort of Israeli infiltration across their borders against Iran, that Iran would launch an attack on those countries, that they will consider them to be hostile actors or enemies. So they've just threatened Saudi Arabia, threatened Bahrain, threatened UAE, and threatened Azerbaijan. Now, the other ones haven't responded publicly just yet. I imagine they will. But Azerbaijani president said this: in the event of hostile action against us, we will rain down fire and burn Iran and its tributaries. Tributaries probably referring to like Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, all the organizations that they work with that are kind of their proxies, and including their Shiite militias in Iraq, which are basically Iraqi Hezbollah. So Azerbaijan hitting back hard and saying, don't you dare threaten us, and we will do whatever we want to do. How does that not look like World War III? We have the Iranian and its tributaries block. We have the Gulf states on the other side, staring down at each other, threatening to attack each other. And at the same time, we have Israel running in with a firecracker to throw at it. Iran is expecting this attack imminently. Israel is expecting to launch it imminently. And that is a really bad recipe, and that's not all we have going on out there. We also have, just over the last 24 hours, some of the heaviest bombing that CNN has ever seen. Now, this is coming from the reporters that they have in Beirut. We're not talking about in the countryside. We're not talking about, we're talking about in the capital city of Lebanon. Israel is going to town and has, so much so that the residents of Beirut are fleeing the city. They're fleeing the city because the city is being pounded so hard, so regularly over the past 24 hours. It's been one explosion after the next across the city. Israel is celebrating a massive number of attacks on Hezbollah, but what they're not saying is that they're hitting alleged Hezbollah targets inside Beirut. Up till recently, they have basically said that Beirut is off limits, and Hezbollah apparently has been hiding a lot of its targets in the outskirts of Beirut. Now, that means that Israel has said that the Beirut shield is gone. You can't hide behind the civilians in Beirut anymore. We're going to go after you anyway. They even went after some high-ranking Hezbollah people up in the north of Lebanon. They're attacking far and wide. They have been given the munitions by the United States. This is a trend we've seen. We've seen the United States giving munitions to Saudi Arabia, who then carpet bombed the Houthi civilians. And when I say Houthi, I mean people in that part of the country. They were literally attacking market squares on market days. They were basically taking out supermarkets while they're packed full of people. Okay? Now, they don't really have the supermarkets there, but imagine you have the market square filled with people buying vegetables, buying whatever food they can, and then Saudi Arabia was dropping a bomb not at somebody, but at all the people in the market. That's the kind of stuff we were seeing back in Sarajevo. That's the kind of thing that we were seeing back during the Serbian Civil War. This is intentional targeting of civilians to eradicate a population. That's called genocide, friends. And they were using United States munitions to do that in Yemen. Can you wonder why the Houthis hate the West so very much? It's a complete loss to me, isn't it? It got so bad that even the U.S. war hawks said finally, it's too much. You need to stop intentionally using these on civilians. And I'm going to say this, and there is strong evidence to show that United States Special Operations Forces were inside Saudi Arabia helping them to target these places. Now, were they targeting giving them good targets and saying, please use these instead of the ones that you're using? Maybe. I don't know all the internal discussions, but the fact that we had special operations teams inside Saudi Arabia providing them targeting information, and at the same time we have mass humanitarian civilian intentional targeting casualties widespread. And this was long term. This wasn't like a few instances. This was a decade-long campaign. So bad that the United States finally said, we can't sell you offensive munitions anymore, Saudi Arabia, because you are a war criminal. Now, we didn't say it like that. What we said was, we have concerns about how you're using them and blah, 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 blah. But when you look at the concerns that the United Nations voiced and other human rights groups, when they saw what happened, and let alone the accusations coming from Iran and Russia and the Houthis, who actually had much better information. Basically, the UN and Amnesty International and these other groups were doing this from a distance. They weren't actually on the ground actually doing the reporting from the Houthis' perspective. So the United States providing weapons that then get used in a terrifying, horrible way has a long-standing tradition. The United States provides weapons to its allies and then doesn't ask questions. What's happening in Lebanon right now, if you're a Lebanese or if you are someone from Lebanon, just imagine that. You are in a city, and that city is literally being bombarded. Not power plants, but residential buildings. What would you think about that? You don't know if the Israeli AI is going to determine that your neighbor is actually a high value target. And it's going to calculate it up and say that it is a high probability that your neighbor is a member of Hezbollah. Maybe he is. I don't know. Maybe his son is. And maybe his son is going to be home for the evening meal. Maybe the AI knows that he's on leave. Or maybe because it's a celebration or a holiday. And because of that, there's going to be people in your apartment complex that maybe you've never seen before that are suddenly going to be on the target list, and your building is going to be flattened next. Can you imagine the terror of that? And like I said, Israeli AI, because they are using artificial intelligence to actually select the targets. Now, the targets are supposedly being reviewed by human people, but the amount of targets that are being approved, that review is either becoming very, very efficient, or it is becoming more and more rubber stamped. And Israel, I believe, has the right to defend itself, and they're in a very difficult situation. I'm just trying to give you the opposite perspective of things, what's going on in Lebanon, and how the Lebanese population are viewing this. That is why they are fleeing the city of Beirut and running for the hills. The airport road was attacked just in the last few hours. Even though only one airline, the local Lebanese airlines actually flying, while that aircraft was on the tarmac just less than half a kilometer away, landed an airstrike on the access road to the airport. Were they going after a certain person, or were they trying to make it so that the airport is no longer an escape route for Hezbollah? The escalations are huge, friends, and this cycle doesn't end. Now, there's always that idea that if we hit them hard enough, that they will have second thoughts before they, try to one-up us or hit us back. We'll hit them so hard that they won't be willing to hit us again. And that, friends, that is a cycle of theoretical stupidity that has never worked. That has never worked. We've seen other tactics sort of work where you say, if you do this, we will do this, and this is such a big thing, so you won't want to do that. That has worked in the past. But the idea that we're going to hit them hard, so hard that they don't even want to hit us back, unless you absolutely destroy them. Now, Israel, it looks like it's taking Hezbollah apart at the seams, leadership-wise, and all the attacks that have happened there. And maybe that is what is going on, but it's hard to imagine that the Lebanese army, which is different than Hezbollah, doesn't come after Israel for a lot of these attacks. They are probably going to be seriously thinking about that, and these guys are on the phone with Iran saying, you need to help us. And Iran is on the phone to Russia saying, you need to help us. And friends, things are about to go down in the next few hours. Hopefully not. Hopefully everything calms down, but doesn't look that way. Iran looks like it's expecting this attack imminently, and it looks like Israel's about to deliver imminently. Keep your head on a swivel, friends, and if stuff reappears in your store, you might want to pick it up, because things are going to get hairy in the next little bit. We could see nuclear weapons exchanged in the next week or so, or even sooner, potentially. It's possible that Israel uses a nuke on Iran. That is a possibility. All right, friends, I'll keep you updated on everything as it happens, but let's break for a moment and see what happens, and we will get back together again. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up there. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.